Hello everybody and welcome to another Blender tutorial. This time we will create this effect. Some simple rigid body simulation of falling objects to plane or ground. And we will play with UV projection, so we can project one image to multiple objects at once. So when everything is fall down and simulation is over, the teapots will create one image, in this case the monkey. For the purpose of the tutorial, let's make some twist on it and project this teapot on monkeys. Well, let's jump right into the Blender and start with the empty scene. And first of all, we will just prepare the scene, so the ground and the camera. Add the camera and clear all the transformation, put it somewhere above, like 2 meters, and for better effect, just shorten the focal length, or just play with the field of view and set it somewhere around 60. It should be enough. Let's try something more, like 90. Oh, no, 80. Okay, don't spend too much on this part. Now just create the ground. You can create just a plane, but for the physics simulation I believe it's better to use something with volume, so I create this cube, put it on the grid, under the grid in this case, and scale it in the x-axis so it will cover the whole view. Also I will apply the rotation and scale, or scale in this case, for the simulations, so everything should have the scale at 1. And this will be here in physics tab, add to passive. Here it is. So now it's passive object in physics simulation. It won't move, but it will recognize all the collisions. Change shape to box, so it's easier to calculate, and also box doesn't really need the margin, and because the simulation will be pretty small, we actually don't want any margin, so we will use the predefined shape. If we use the mesh, we should use some collision margin, and it will make gaps between objects, and we don't want it. Okay, now if we just pour or let fall a bunch of objects on this cube, they will fall over the edge, and we don't want that, so I will just duplicate this cube to create something like a pool for the objects. It's not in the frame of the camera, so the precision in this case is not necessary. Just make sure you don't see any edges here. Okay, and this is the scene prepared. Now add the object that we want to fall down. It will be monkey Susan in the Blender. In this case, scale it like 0.16, should be pretty good in this case. And again, Ctrl A and apply scale. Move it up a little bit so it's not exactly visible in the camera. Move it even more. And set all the physics settings that we need. Just add it to active. Change shape to convex hull. Let's go to the physics settings here. We need dynamics. Mass could be like 0.5. Friction, everything can stay, just crank up a little bit the damping, because we want not exactly slow motion feel, but we want more frames for the falling. Okay, this should give the good result. Just put subdivision surface on it. Okay, and smooth shading. Now it's our monkey prepared for the simulation, so create a bunch of them, put it on the edge, Alt D, or well, not Alt D, because we want to project the image on all of these monkeys. We need different UV matte for each monkey, so duplicate it with not Alt D as linked object, but with Shift D. It will make sure that the duplicated object will have its own mesh. Okay, with Shift R I will make it a bunch of times. Also, just for clearance, I will put it on second layer. Then move it here and duplicate it again. Another axis, y-axis, and duplicate it again. And I think it's more than enough. I think it's maybe too much. So let's delete them and put some randomness on it. Just select one of them in the second scene, so we don't accidentally move something else, just the monkeys. Activate proportional editing and fall offset to random. Also, we want move it or rotate around individual origins. Well, and now when I hit R and make the circle bigger, every monkey should rotate somewhat differently. Let's do it several times. Also in another axis, and move it a little bit, just a little. If some monkeys will intersect, it's not really that bad. It will just make some initial motion or initial velocity on the start, and because it's behind the camera, it's not visible in this scene. It's not that bad. What we need to make sure is in the top view, here is the camera in the center, and we don't want any monkeys to fall directly through the camera, so we will have some frames that we are actually the camera is inside the monkey, and it's not really good. So turn off the proportional editing and just move these monkeys away from the center. There should be enough monkeys that after they fall down, there won't be the gap, and it will fill with another monkeys. Okay, it's look like everything is set up. So go to the scene panel, rigid body world. According to your computer, crank these numbers up as high as you can. So for example, for me, 320 and 64 iterations per second. Okay. It will get rid a little bit of the shivering or the jagged motion when it's trying to lay down on the floor. Well, let's see how it will work. Rigid body cache. We don't need 250. I believe 120 is enough. Let's see. Free all bakes. Make sure you are saved somewhere. And bake all dynamics. It will take some time. It shouldn't take too much. It was like 20 seconds. And play the simulation. And I believe it doesn't look that bad. Floor is covered pretty much. The animation looks pretty good. Many monkeys are face down. We can just rotate them so they are initially face up, so they are more recognizable as monkeys. But for the time purposes, I will not correct it right now. And well, before I save again, it's possible that if you save that file right now when it's baked and open it later, you will get kind of different result, because different monkey will be assigned with different animation. So to make sure that everything stays exactly as it's now, because it's finished, we want this simulation, select all the monkeys and bake them to keyframes. To 120, of course. Okay. It will take some time again, but it shouldn't take too much. Okay, it's done. It wasn't that bad. We need render 220 frames. We will just prolong the animation after the fact. We will just use the last frame longer here and the first frame before the animation, but it will be when we will video edit, not before. Now I can save and work on the materials itself. Okay, I will jump to the node settings. So I will have this node editor. All monkeys should share one material, so select one monkey with shift, give it material, monkey, and Ctrl L, share, make links, materials. Okay, now we need all monkeys to have some UV unwrapping. It doesn't matter which one, just some. So again, I will go to edit mode, for example, Smart UV project. Okay, it doesn't really matter. And Ctrl L, transfer UV maps. So now all the monkeys have the same UV map. Go back to the modifiers and get rid of the subsurf. We don't need that. We need here modify UV project. Okay, now we need to open the image that we want to project on the monkeys. Open, it's this one, the teapot. Open image. Go to the camera view to see what's happening, and to the material view. We now see this diffuse. I will plug here this texture, image texture, color here, and it will be the teapot. It's mapped for individual UVs right now, but we will make sure with the modifier that it's not the case. Image will be the teapot, override the image, projector is the camera, of course, UV map is the only one that we have, and aspect ratio is 16:9. It's aspect ratio of the image, not the camera. Well, it's set up, everything is selected, so Ctrl N modifiers, and now all monkeys share the modifier. It's pretty good already. I will just put timeline here to scroll through the animation, and you can see that it's not sticked to the monkeys. It's in each frame it's projected from the camera. So go to the last frame, 120, and kind of baked this this modifier. Just apply to all. It's done, and add back our subsurf so it's looking good. Ctrl L and share modifiers. Right now the image is stuck on the monkeys. Well, we should move them up or the camera down. They are in the first frame. I didn't really check that. You should. But I'm okay with that. And let's work on the lighting and material. For the plane or the cube below, for the floor, I will just make material ground, and I'm using the group dielectric. How it's made, it's a kind of variation of the CineCAD Pro tutorial on how to make PBR shaders in Blender. It's pretty much just diffuse, glossy mixed with Fresnel. The stuff here is just that the roughness will affect the Fresnel itself. You can just make it from this image, or just go to the CineCAD Pro on YouTube and watch his PBR shader creation. Now we just go and darken the image, up the roughness and down the reflectivity. Or maybe the roughness doesn't have to be that much. And it's all for the floor. And for the monkeys, go to the select some monkey, rendered view. Oh, it will take some time because of the subsurf. First lighting, then materials. So lighting, just go to the world settings, and I like to use just HDR maps. So it's easiest lighting that you can imagine. Environment, texture, open, and I have some here, HDRs, environment. I pick some light, this one, open image. And if you have the actually HDR image, not just JPEG that is unwrapped, it's for the best to not change the strength. Just keep it at 1. And if you want a brighter or darker image, go to the render settings and change exposure in the film. We don't need transparent in this case. We can crank up the exposure, but before it, I would like to use the Filmic color management. Again, link in the description. Andrew Price, Blender Guru, did a pretty good explanation and tutorial how it's used and why it works. So go there and download it, Filmic and base contrast. Now I can crank up the exposure to 3.2. It looks good to me. Now for the material, again I will use this dielectric, nothing fancy, just little rough, not too much. It's slow in this case, so just type here 0.017 and reflectivity down like 0.32, even less, 0.16. Yeah, and some roughness. The recording and rendering at the same time, it's not healthy for my computer, so I will just stop the rendering for a while. And for the bumpiness, roughness, something more random to the monkeys, I will use texture noise 2 times, one with the default settings, another with something higher, color mix the factors, map it, input texture coordinate to object, so it will rotate with the rotation of the monkeys itself, and use it for bump mapping, for bump vector to high, something really low, and strength even lower, and plug it to normal. Okay, let's now see the result. Well, it's not too bad. Okay, we can set the render dimensions, full HD, okay, 30 frames per second. Data output, all animations should output as the PNGs or JPEGs, just something that's image, so you have image sequence that you will make 2 videos later. Okay, sampling, I am pretty sure this is more than enough, so I will crank it down, maybe even more, because yes, 64 should be enough. Well, light path, this is too much for this scene. Transparency, there isn't any. Reflective caustics, yes please. One diffuse, one glossy, no transmission. And crank up the maximum, but put down the minimum, so it will not affect really, the rendering time. Motion blur, yes, because we are moving stuff, but not too much. 0.16, film is set up. Performance, I'm using GPU, so bigger tiles. This should be okay. And save the scene and render the first frame to make the composition. Let's see how long it will take. Okay, the result is not that bad, but it takes pretty long. I blame it on the recording. Okay, and what we want, the composition. So let's see the render result here, and here go back to the node editor, composition, use nodes. We will use something like the Holy Trinity that is used pretty much always. First, lens distortion, dispersion 0.02, it's too much, 0.016, some really low values. This effects shouldn't really override the image too much, it should just make it looks kind of more interesting. The other thing is glare, where it is filter and glare, for example 6 streaks, really low fade, really high color management, and even the mix pretty lower. Okay, threshold lower. Let's see how it looks. It looks pretty good actually. Just put the mix even lower. Okay, I am pretty happy with the result. And the last one is vignettation. I still using the kind of old method. I don't know if there is some new node for the vignettation, so I will choose again the lens distortion, pick the alpha, distortion 1, converter math, here, greater than 0, filter blur, make it really fuzzy, fast Gaussian, something big, and color mix, and multiply, and here factor something 0.32. Okay, should be visible that the edges are a little bit darker. Okay, now we can just jump here and render the whole animation, and it will take pretty much too long, I'm pretty sure. I will just try for this case, select all the monkeys. Where is the subsurf modifier? And I will try to use experimental features, where some monkey maybe disappeared, or it's just my vision, and go to adaptive rendering. That's something like 3 pixels, and try to render it again. Of course, Ctrl-L modifiers, so the adaptive is on all. Why it's not set on all when it's linked? Okay, I will just get rid of it. Ctrl-R modifiers. Here's subdivision surface, adaptive 3, Ctrl-R modifiers. Why it's not set in all the monkeys? Okay, I just activated it with holding the Alt and clicking on adaptive, and also the dicing scale, Alt, clicking 3. Let's see. Yes, now it worked. Okay, let's try to render this with the adaptive sampling. Well, we compare it to 4 minutes and 30. Okay, save it and render. It still takes too long, so I stopped it, and the resolution, it's still pretty high, so I will try to make it even bigger, like 6 for example, and let's see what it will do. Render. Still too long. Let's crank up for the last time even higher. And try it. Nope, doesn't help at all, but it doesn't really matter. I've tried to animate it before, so I should already have the final render waiting for me somewhere. So jump right to the making the video from the image sequence right now. I will go to the new Blender file. We need just camera, nothing else should be in the scene. And go to video editing. I have it somehow differently arranged, but it's the same windows that you have. And add image, and where it is, mouse 2, it should be that. Okay, let's scrub through it. Yes, it's monkeys. They fall down and they create a teapot. I will move it a little further, like 30 frames, and add image and first frame. The first frame will be in the beginning, and add image the last frame, and it will be in the end. And the whole animation could have like 240. Let's play it, how it will look. Pretty good. And just set the render settings. You cannot use the border rendering in video editing. The dimensions is okay, frame rate okay. Output is now something some video format. In my case, I use H.264 as MPEG, so MP4 with H.264 as codec. I like to use a lower cop size and definitely bigger bitrate. No audio codec, we don't have any sound right now. And because this is the post-processing of the rendering of the scene, we need to render the scene as fast as possible. So it means sampling should go to 1 and light pass to 0. We don't need anything in the scene rendered actually. Okay, it looks like it's done. So just hit animation and hope for the best. Could not open file for writing. Okay, yeah, because I am using this double slash, it means it saved the output wherever is saved the blend file, and I didn't save the blend file. So file, save as, and here, video edit. Okay, it's saved. So now when I hit animation, it should go through all the frames. It shouldn't take that long. It's because I'm recording, and also I noticed that if you have activated the Filmic color management, it actually have pretty big impact on the video sequence editor. So just turn it off or even uninstall it. You can just quickly switch between the old color management and the Filmic color management, and this is like 10 or 20 times faster without the Filmic color management. Okay, and it's done. So just check the result and where it is. I am looking for out here, and it's done. We have falling monkeys, and they fall into the shape, or they have projected a teapot on them. You can see the shaking of the monkeys, because in this case I've used the mesh collider, not the convex hull, and it's visible that better choice is definitely convex hull. It looked better. Okay, this is pretty much it. I hope you learned something new, and till the next time, bye.